Hey guys, you're watching Basil Knows, and this video is all about the process that you go through in order to get review devices. This is really important because when you're watching a review, the implication is that it is completely objective. Any subjectivity, any bias, any swaying, the reasons for it should probably be mentioned in the review, and as a result, I very seldom see people say, and I don't say it, how we got the device, how long we get to keep the device, etc. It is oftentimes just implied. So hopefully this video will shed some light. Now it all starts with the manufacturer, Samsung, Huawei, Sony, Apple, etc. They will have contacts, they will have PR agencies, most of them, in the respective cities of those respective journalists. Those PR agencies will be compiling lists of who's cool, who's not, basically who has 10,000 subscribers, viewers or over. That threshold will likely change to more than that when the influencer world becomes even more saturated than it already is. What happens then is either the PR agencies will outreach or the influencer will get in touch with the PR agencies. If they need to, they'll flag it with the manufacturer to tell them that we'll be giving a device to this person, and then that device gets sent. There is the expectation every single time, in principle, that it gets returned after around a week to a month. That's generally the review loan process duration. Now that's a traditional way of doing things. There have been many instances where bigger publications have had the opportunity to keep devices forever. That's known as a long-term loan. Again, I've never seen that outlined, but if you work within a big publication like Tech Radar, where I work, you have a bunch of standards that you comply to, and the rest of the team will hold you to those. In fact, it's part of the company itself, the bigger publishing house. You have to list everything that you get, even down to trips that you go on, etc. Now, so that's how it works within journalism. And there's also the National Union of Journalists, and they'll hold you accountable as well. There isn't a huge amount of transparency, so I'd really focus on the teams. If you are looking to get into journalism, it's the teams that you work in, the publications that you work in, that will call you to it. So definitely call them up on it. If you are curious, if you want to know, drop your editor of your favorite tech magazine an email and ask them, if they don't make that public, to publicize it. Because if they do end up keeping all the devices, selling them, which is the biggest no-no of the bunch, then that suggests that there is a degree of, I guess, remuneration from the tech company. They're getting money directly from something that isn't their job. Their job is to write and review the product rather than to directly profit from the sale of it once they've made their money doing their job. Right, so that's the traditional model. And then you move on to vloggers, and then you move on to other companies that are a lot more aggressive, like Huawei. So I'll start with vloggers. Vloggers are kind of laws unto themselves. Now, YouTube has found that vlogger advertising has broken some laws, or new laws and new rules have been put in place to prevent advertising from taking place when it isn't clearly labeled as advertising. But vloggers can get review devices as keepers, and that is something that maybe people, again, don't talk about enough. Vloggers are really great because they're able to add a more human element potentially. I mean, I wouldn't be doing a video like this for Tech Radar, for example. In the same breath, they are less accountable because they are only really accountable to themselves. For example, Huawei at every launch event will actually give you a long-term loan product, and that is pretty much everyone who attends the event. The long-term loan product has a slip in it saying you cannot sell me, and I am not necessarily running final software, but that is very hard for Huawei to enforce. I'll come on to what I think about long-term loans in a second. They are a mixed bag. They're a good thing and they're a bad thing as well. But those vloggers, those journalists, won't necessarily be mentioning in the reviews that they get to keep those devices forever, use them as their primary phones, whereas if it was, say, I don't know, Samsung Galaxy S9, they might have had to have returned it, and therefore there may be a degree of preference to the device that they get to keep for longer. So again, that's something that I'd probably be more inclined to put into reviews upon thinking about it a little bit harder if I was a vlogger than if I was a journalist, where it's kind of implied that there is a code of ethics around it. I'm not saying vloggers aren't ethical. In fact, this is a vlog about ethical vlogging, but it's just something to be aware of, especially if you're looking at something with the word review in it, which isn't just really clear like the camera comparison or camera sample videos I've been posting. You get to kind of make the calls yourselves with that one. If you're trusting someone's word, then you want to know exactly how much they're being swayed by the fact that they do or don't get to keep that product. Okay, so that is how it works with vloggers and Huawei as well. It isn't just Huawei. A lot of manufacturers do actually get vloggers keep products. They're really huge vloggers for longer duration periods, and that does make sense. There are so many benefits to having a long-term loan device. Specifically, it's around being able to thoroughly test the phone. The Huawei P20 Pro that I've been using since the launch event, I've tested it out so much. I've found some bugs that I don't like, but I've also found that the camera is literally just stunning when you deep dive into the settings. Had I had to give that phone back after a week, 2 weeks, I definitely would not categorically have found the camera to be so superior over a lot of other cameras than I did, down to its versatility. There are a lot of other benefits of really testing a phone for longer durations. One of them, battery life. You never really know how a battery is going to fare after just a week with a device, because people are going to be using these phones for 12 to 24 months. And after 12-24 months, you're going to see the battery die way quicker, or not, potentially. But if you have a phone for longer and you're reviewing it for public consumption, you're posting 1 month, 2 month, 3 month reviews of using a device as your primary phone. That is the only way you're really going to share a representative example as to how it would be when people use these devices for a long time. So there are massive benefits to long-term loans. It, on one hand, can feel like Huawei, or someone who's being as aggressive as Huawei is buying our affection by letting us hang on to devices forever, effectively. But at the same time, it's also potentially going to create a wider and better pool of videos and coverage for you guys. And the thing about Huawei that is so aggressive is they democratize you get a long-term loan device situation. While other manufacturers would only ever do it to publications that were huge, so maybe the top 10 in the country, Huawei shares long-term devices with pretty much everyone. Again, potentially improving the pool of content that's out there, increasing it definitely, so you can see from a sheer numbers game what Huawei is doing. And it isn't a cheap thing, making sure every tech journalist and vlogger or blogger gets a long-term loan, but it's clearly paying dividends in terms of brand recognition for Huawei. When they did it initially, we were massively able to call them up on shortcomings of their phones, and the phones have been improving constantly since. And it started, if I am correct, with the Huawei Mate 7, so a few years ago. Anyway, this has been not a video to call anyone out or to say something's right or something's wrong. I guess it's just a call for greater transparency. So going forward, I should start as I mean to go on and practice what I preach, and I will state how I got access to a device in the description below every video, and how long I get to keep it, if I get to keep it, etc. With a channel like this one, if we do get a long-term loan device, once I finish covering it, I will do my best to either sell it for charity and let the manufacturer know and make that public with a Just Giving page or something, or I will give it away as a competition prize. Like I said in the video Ethics of a Smartphone, of a Superphone, a phone sitting in a drawer is the worst thing in the world, because okay, not the worst thing, but it's not great, because it has non-renewable elements, blah, 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 and people are buying and making new phones. So if it goes to a home, however that may be, then it is gonna be better. Although from an ethical point of view, I don't feel I should sell a phone, because if I do sell a phone, then that is going to potentially, even if it's subconsciously, compromise the process by which I review it. And that is, like I said, what most journalists will at least adhere to from a publication perspective. It all also comes down to an individual and their individual ethics. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was a bit longer than I expected it to be, but it's definitely something I've thought about and I found quite interesting and challenging, especially with the rise of the vlogger. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Would you trust a review that didn't specify where a device came from? And yeah, it would be really interesting to gauge your thoughts. I've been in the industry for a very long time. For outsiders looking in, you guys are effectively the viewers. You're as, if not more important than me in this stuff. So yeah, comments, like the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. Bye.